Welcome to Transform. I'm Luz,
And I'm
and
Anne.
today we are so excited to welcome Matt Starokowski. And
I
I don't know
appreciate.
if I pronounced that correct. I tried. I think I butchered it.
Oh, that's funny. It's actually not too hard to say. It's just abysmally long to spell. Starobykhovskiy, but I appreciate you guys for having me.
All right, thank you. Starobykhovskiy. I
Yeah,
always try. Yeah.
that's
All right, wonderful. Well, we talked a little bit before about our podcast and what we're looking for here. So right now, I would love for you to share maybe a little bit about yourself. Tell us
Mhm.
more about your journey and maybe about some transformations that you have gone through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's definitely been a number of iterations of myself, and I appreciate you guys giving me the platform to share. I think the first version of me was the morbidly obese 18-year-old. I used to weigh 300 pounds, and I was kind of like a CB student, played sports, but kind of just took life very lax. And the first major transformation in my life is when I lost 125 pounds.
Wow.
Going through that, the cutting out foods or relationships or exercise being implemented wasn't the hard part. It was the mindset. I had to develop a level of discipline and adaptability that had never been something that I was challenged with. So the first was that in 2017 into 2018, I lost 125 pounds. And in that, I changed entirely as a person from my sphere of influence all the way down to what I did when I woke up, how I got up. It's the little things, right? How you do something is how you do everything. I was definitely, for example, a snoozer. Now I'm like, within
Wow.
10 seconds of like anything going off. And
What
so,
what was the moment that where you made that decision? Or I should ask, was there a moment?
yeah, there definitely was. And it was actually a scary moment. When I was 17 going on 18, I went to the doctor. And I remember after they had weighed me, done all my vitals, they had let me know that I had gained over 50 pounds since my last checkup. And if I were to maintain this trajectory, I would die. And so that was the inflection point for me where I had to decide which one is going to be my hard, the hard of being overweight or the hard of doing the work that will get me out of this. And I picked my hard, and I'm very grateful that I did.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So tell us about what you're doing in your real estate journey now.
So this is the next inflection point. Okay, so I lost 125 pounds. I go from biochem major, pre-pharma, really excited to go down that path to losing weight, becoming obsessed with everything health and fitness. So I changed majors in college. I become a nutrition's major. I start my first business in 2017, um, and it's a personal training studio. I recognized that like if I could do this for myself, I could help so many other people along the way. So I started doing that. That business ended up compounding into an online coaching business because my sphere of influence continued to grow. And then it iterated and it became a meal prep service. So throughout greater LA County, which is where I'm based, I was offering meal prep catering to people's houses. So I scaled that out and it became really, really fun. But there was an upper limit to my ability to make income, if I'm being blunt. It was how much time can I put in relative to how many dollars I get back. And so I lost my fire for it, bluntly. And during that time, my younger brother, who was 18, got hired as a salesperson for a real estate company here in LA. And within 6, 7 months, the little kid was making more money than me after running a business for 7 years. So I was like, whatever this real estate stuff is, like I'm going head first. I'm giving it a shot. Unfortunately, because my intentions were so oriented around money and I was so transactional, I ended up attracting some really gnarly people into my life, some bad mentors, partners, and that's probably the next inflection point. That was the next transformation. It was actually a downward spiral because I went from this relatively self-fulfilled, now new person, lost all the weight, was a little bit prideful, a little arrogant, um, to getting humbled really, really quickly. Getting into real estate, I tried to throw money at the problem. My first real estate event, I told all of my friends to quit their jobs. I bought them all matching black suits, Louboutins, and then we get to the event, and everyone there is in like Hawaiian t-shirts and like basketball shorts, and I'm like, okay, I thought everyone was Grant Cardone. So that was my understanding of real estate.
Oh, God love you, Matt. God love you.
Yeah, so oh my gosh. So that was it. And then that obviously that mindset led to a downward spiral where I ended up sleeping in my car. I
Mm.
sold all my crypto, my stocks, all my cash, credit cards, all the things, and just into this compound effect that led to the worst position I could have been in. Um, and then the next inflection point happens.
Tell us.
What
Sure.
happened there? Yes.
So the next inflection point was I recognized that me being on sales calls with homeowners that were struggling, I need to let go of the fact that money is the focus. I got into the industry for that focus. I had to remove that. I had a very transactional nature about myself. And once I got down to my bottom floor, and bluntly, that's where I met God. That's where my faith grew in that humility and in that torn down state of myself, I had recognized that the people that were struggling on the other side actually were going through reflective experiences. And in that, I could remove the transactional nature and just come to serve. In December,
Just stop a sec. Say that again. That is really powerful.
I just talked, so I don't know if I can. I think I said I removed the transactional nature in my
Yeah.
interactions and then I began to serve.
I think it's what you said was they're going through a reflective process.
Yeah,
So you're serving and you're you're receiving. That's
absolutely.
it's fascinating, because I had this moment of awakening. Sorry to jump in, but I really enjoy sales and I love competitive sales. Put me against somebody else to pitch the same guy, I will probably win because I just will do so much research but I never wanted to do it with direct to sellers, particularly those in real pain. And I was like, what's this about? Because all my experience would have been in B2B. And I
Mhm.
realized, oh, I'm really, really scared of p people in that amount of need being damaged by me being
Mhm.
too commercially aggressive. So I don't want to damage anybody, so I'm not going to do it. And I had to have this really powerful experience, which was no, they are whole, you are whole. It's okay. You can help. You won't, it's not just going to be a damaging thing. And that was such a release because it's a give and take. And I never thought of it as it's a reflective experience for them, because you're absolutely right.
I hadn't seen it that way either. And now that you say that, like my experience with foreclosure, pre-foreclosures was helping a few families out of the foreclosure situation, and they were able to keep their properties. And I think my biggest fear why I chose not to continue doing that work is because I didn't want to go to the next step where if they couldn't keep the property and they couldn't stay there, I would have to step in and take it. And I was like, I can't do that. And so for me, it was more of a yep, I can help to here, and then I'm done. And then what's the point, you know? So I couldn't pull out, I wasn't that type of investor. So I know I'm not that type of investor. I just couldn't do it. Not that, I didn't see it as also serving them in that way. So I love that. I love that approach and that thought. But still, I'll stay in my lane.
No, but I think that's important, right? For every investor, for us to recognize our lanes and figure out what our best and highest use in our skill set entails. I think that in that experience, Luce, what I had learned is that I might also not have the requisite skill set, or maybe I have the mindset barrier that would stop me from doing that deal. But then I came into a community that we're all a part of where I can then outsource that and know that I'm doing them the best service possible.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
That's where that next inflection point came for me. In
And,
December.
Matthew, let me ask you as well about your relationship with money,
Yeah.
because I've got this unofficial research that I like to do in my head about I people seem to have either a massive fear of starvation, to put it to put it in its extremist, or it's oh no, I need things because things make me special and feel whole and better and whatever. Now, I may be incorrect in that little simplicity, but would you have had a relationship with either of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Matt that lost weight and then started making a lot of money out of nowhere, he started buying all the expensive things. Like anything to fill the void, anything to feel validated and to self-affirm. The Matt that ended up sleeping in his car recognized that that was all vanity and it did nothing for him. And today, where I am in my business is I have a massive, massive responsibility that I've taken on to be a good steward. And I feel as though if I do not succeed, there are a lot of people that will not be fed. And that's what I tell myself every single day. The reason why I can keep doing what I do is because I know that there's a lot of people, both that I already know and don't know, that are depending on me to really succeed.
Wow.
Mm.
What a wonderful realization to have come to. So responsible.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's taken a process to get there, but I'm very grateful for the headspace I'm in. It allows me to persevere. I think a lot of the times when you think about like, oh, I'm depressed or I'm anxious or I'm all of these things, it's usually inside, right? I'm thinking about myself, my feelings, my struggles. But as soon as I step outside of myself and I look at another person, I can step out of that very quickly, right? Like if
Mm.
you're depressed, here's my challenge to you. Go clean your house for 30 minutes. Go do an exercise for 30 minutes. Go talk to someone for 30 minutes. Go do something else for 30 minutes. Within 2 hours, you're going to completely reframe your mindset, both physiologically and and from a soft perspective. And that will change your life. So it's those little things that I think have changed my life in terms of how I can redirect my energy and focus on other people.
And tell us about the real estate business that you have today.
Absolutely. So I run a wholesale business. That's my primary active income, doing between 5 and 7 deals a month. I've been doing that since 21. That was kind of what started everything for me in terms of real estate. And then in that, I wholesale specifically in markets where I buy real estate myself. So we buy real estate for two different vehicles in terms of an exit. I started a business with my partner, Carlos, and that business is buytherate.com, where we help families who aren't able to qualify for a loan buy a home with financing in place. And that's where my heart is and where my vision is. The second thing that I do in single family is we do co-living, but specifically with student housing. So we work with the enrollment directors at universities and we partner with them to provide affordable housing. On the single family side for the seller finance homes, my focus is not just, for example, let's say, Anne, you run a business, you write off all your income, you can't qualify for a home. I'm not comfortable just selling you a house. If you buy from buytherate.com, you're going through financial literacy education, you're going through budgeting, you're going through mortgage education. Once you've gone through all of our courses, you're assigned a success manager that meets with you every 6 months, and they make sure you have every resource to make sure that you're successful. So that's the other side of my business. The wholesale business is kind of the vertical integration that allows me to do the other stuff. And then the other aspect of my business is I syndicate multifamily. So right now, I have a 506c running, which is an accredited investment fund for a 204 unit property in Lubbock, Texas. So those are kind of the three things that I spend my time doing.
Wow, that is deeply impressive. I love what you're doing on the financial literacy and how was that, did you do that proactively or did you learn that reactively?
Proactively. I come from an immigrant family, first generation everything. My family, my parents specifically, did not believe that running a business or owning their own home was viable. They're immigrants from Russia, like, work a job, go to an education, that kind of mindset. And then getting into the space, I had recognized that there's a massive difference between what we know because we've paid for education and to be in a sphere versus the average consumer. And so in 2023, I started doing these seller finance homes and recognizing that each person I was working with had a completely different story as to why they weren't able to qualify for a conventional loan. So it started to compound and I started to notice a trend. And so each person, they would get their own kind of experience with me. But then as I developed by the rate, I recognized now I need to take all of that need that I recognize in each deal and package that into a model that's a little bit more scalable. And so that's where we're at now.
Mm. That is massively proactive and massively thoughtful. What is your success rate, do you know, at people retaining that asset?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the utmost goal of ours. A lot of people who take this business model in from an investor perspective, I hate to say, but they kind of bank on default.
Oh,
Um,
is that
it,
where it all makes sense?
well, because
Of
think
course
about
it
it,
would,
you get another down payment, you restart the loan,
yeah.
like it's kind of the best thing for an investor. But for me, and specifically for the vision of the company, we want to retain as low of a default rate as possible by offering these ancillary resources. So if their loan matures in 7 years, by year two, we're connecting them to credit repair companies. We're connecting them to a property manager if they're outgrowing the home so that they can rent that property out, right? And then the Everest, the goal over the next 5 years is to help 600 families become first-time homeowners, and then 400 of those families to become first-time real estate investors. So as Anne buys a home from buytherate.com and she goes through this process of developing financially, she's eventually going to outgrow the property or look to continue to scale because she's been educated on the value of it. And now we're going to offer her fractional investment opportunities into our portfolio. We're going to offer her investment opportunities in general. And so that's the vision is I want to create that bridge, something that my family didn't have access to, or at least cognitively didn't believe it was possible.
Mm.
That's excellent. So, as you look back on everything that you've done and where you are today and where you are now, and I know that we deal with the headaches of being an investor daily. We were talking about this before starting, but honestly, what are you most proud of today?
Yeah. I will say I'm most proud of the number of people that I have helped along the way. And it's hard for me to even vocalize that, but when I got into this last mentorship, and this was like my last hurrah, I got into the group on payments, the whole 9 yards, payments on a credit card. I had people go out of their way that didn't owe me anything, that didn't know me from Adam, that served me, that built me up and helped me figure out my path. And so, over the last 2 years or so, I've been very mindful about helping newer investors get their first opportunities done. So I've helped over 30 people get their first real estate deal. And I'm really proud of that because, yes, that's built me up in a lot of ways, but it's what I've seen it do for them. It's the glass ceiling that's broken. Once you do one, you recognize
Mm.
how real it is, how tangible the opportunity is, and it's life-changing. I'm a testament to
Mm.
that. And God willing, I can be a resource for all of those people as well.
Did you have, at what stage did you come to recognize that you had been the recipient of other people's generosity and kindness?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would say that right out of the gate, when I got into sub two, I recognized there was a different posture of heart. The mindset of who, not how was so clearly evident. And I think that it came from the leadership, right? I had one-on-one mentors and personal coaches when I got into real estate, that did not treat me the way that the sub two community did. And specifically, like just seeing how pace would lead from the front, right? Not just like yelling at us from the mountaintop, but he'll push us from behind and he'll serve. I recognize that that's what true leadership looked like. And I think that for me was that inflection point mentally, or the moment that I transformed, where I recognized that if I wanted to get further in my business and in my goals, I had to bring as many people
Mm.
up as possible.
Mm. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think this there's a sort of a mindset about I have done this with my hard work, my early mornings, my everything got me where I am today. And then when people get old, they sometimes just migrate that into luck. Well, actually, I recognize I was quite lucky, but I think we miss a real sort of awareness about look at all those little nudges that were happening to me, let alone the big things, the big, really big helps that happened that all our lives. And I think it's created this real false narrative of the me alone has done this. And this keeps coming up in our conversations about the power of community, the power of from co-living as, oh, it's a necessity. Well, actually, it used to be a really powerful way of living, of sharing your child rearing experience and sharing your costs and having actually a higher quality life. But no, 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 we all need our own places now. And um, this lack of training about seeing what has been done for us. I was thinking about this. America is like 5 minutes old. Like where I come from in Europe, there are roads that were built in Roman times. So you're talking about like, I don't know, sixth, seventh, eighth century roads have been around. The Europeans came and this country has gone up there so fast, had to build new schools, hospital, roads, the whole works in 5 minutes flat in a couple of hundred years. That happened through massive community effort. And it's built this amazing community that is now a country. And yet we still keep insisting on this thing of, I've done this alone. And I think that's what's so really special about Sub 2, which is not really. Nobody does anything. We have to live with this community for its good or ill, because that's how we all grow together. So that's not
That's
very helpful. There wasn't a question in that.
No,
But
that was beautiful. I think that was so powerful. And I think that resonated with me entirely because I think that's our shared experience in this community. I think that, especially in the real estate industry where everything is competitive and generally it is very transactional, it's really hard to find your tribe. And I think that we are all very blessed to have the ability to be amplified by one another. I'm really excited to get to know more and more about your guys' business and your development and know that I can be a resource to some capacity. And I know that the next time my property manager tries to call me and ask me for more money, I can call you guys and I'm like, hey, I'm really stressed out right now. And I think that's a necessary thing on this journey. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the years of learning we can cut off by just knowing some simple little things. It's just really extraordinary. Where do you see your business going over the next few years?
Over the next few years, so in 5 years, I want to have 1,000 units under management in multifamily. And that's kind of like the less sexy but just practical thing that I'm building towards. And then on the other side of my business, it's 5 years, 600 families become first-time homeowners. And then God willing, that titrates to that 400 families that become first-time real estate investors. So my goal is to create a multiple. And I think that I live in Los Angeles. Los Angeles feels like a zoomed in version of the rest of the country, where 65% of the city is already renting. We've heard the idea that the middle class is being removed. Well, that's active here, right? There's two classes in LA. There's landlords and then there's renters. My
Mhm.
goal is to push back on that ratio to the best of my ability.
What
Mm.
help do you need in doing that?
I think that everybody, like, there's a billion-dollar idea that comes to me every day. I'm sure you ladies as well. It's execution that changes everything. I'm the type of person that loves the work, but also loves the work to be done in a way that I like it to be done. And so the challenge that I've had right now is optimizing my hiring processes to make sure that the people that I bring on are in alignment with the core values of the organization and also with the long-term vision. And the more I can find those types of people, high level, I'd like to call them entrepreneurs, the further and the faster we can go. Because the same way that we as accelerants for one each other need a community, inside of the business, it's really important to develop that. And I think the challenge that I've been running into, and maybe you guys can provide some insight on this, is how to do it in a virtual environment at scale. My team is just about 40 people on it, and we have cultivated a culture, and, we do all the Zooms and the meetings and all the things, but sometimes it's just hard to like mimic that like Jordan Belfort Wolf of Wall Street movie, scene where it's like the sales room and everybody's, all the things. That's what I want to imitate. So that's probably the next phase for me is really optimizing that.
I agree with you on the virtual space. That's difficult. That's actually very difficult for me. I pride myself in someone who is excellent at building teams. So I build teams, the way I train them, I mean, everything is done with excellence. And that just starts from the very beginning on who I select, how I select them, what I'm looking for, and then the training that I give them. But these have all been teams I've created in person. These are teams that I'm checking in with weekly, or they're checking in with me. I have an open door policy. They come in and check, but how do you do that virtually? And I think it's just it's sitting here doing the same questions. You're looking for the same. It's going to be a little bit different because obviously you're doing this across the screen, but you're still looking for the same characteristics. You're still looking for them to follow and implement a culture that you've created. And still making yourself accessible with that open door policy, but it's an open camera policy, I guess. Hey, can you jump on a quick call? So it's a transition and it's something new that's to us. But I think again, if you stick to those basic pillars of, how to run an effective team, you'll get there. But yeah, it's something new to all of us that I have to adjust to as well. But yeah.
I think it's what's really interesting about what you're saying is in in theory that could be your job. So your job could be the chief of culture in a remote setting. So that might be you traveling to where your guys are. And that's you're like, hang on, that's not my job description. I don't think I should be doing that, but it might be what is best for you. I think it's really challenging. Have you ever run a business in a in-person environment, in an office environment?
Yeah, not in an office, but I ran a meal prep company where we had multiple cooks, we had multiple delivery people, we had a personal training gym where people would run out of my gym. We had the online coaching business, and that was just me. So, like, I've ran businesses, but again, all of it was in the flesh for the most part.
Mhm.
Um, the idea of being like my, I think, best and highest for the company is to cast the vision for the organization and tell them where it is that we're going, and then to drive opportunity. My goal is to do podcasts
Mm,
with amazing people like you guys so
mm,
that I can be a golden retriever. So somebody in your audience who's looking for the right family and looking for the right tribe to build with can gravitate towards the business. I think that's my best and highest. I think my
mm,
best and highest is to raise capital for our business and do those types of things. And God willing, grow into that as best as I can. The solution that I've been working on right now is I've hired an operator and I have my first two salaried and team members that are going to allow the business to stabilize just a little bit. But it's an uphill battle and I'm enjoying it. The challenge that I have, I used to do like open door, like I would be on Zoom like this, just doing my thing, working. But I think that I also paid the price because it made me really inefficient. I would have people pop in like every 3 minutes, and I'm like, oh man, I'd love to get something done. And because the things that I do impact their success, it created actually a really toxic kind of cycle. And so I instead created a system where now I have got a minute meetings where if you do want to get in touch with me, here's these blocks of time within my calendar where I am readily available. And now I've created systems where I have managers and leaders within my business that again, they if a problem comes up in my team right now, they'll be able to deal with it without me being a resource. And if it needs to get escalated, it will. I don't want to create like bureaucracy, but I also recognize that layers is necessary.
mm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
And
exactly it.
with what you see or what we seem to be seeing going on in the property market at the moment, which is plummeting house prices in big parts of the country, but still people can't get on the property ladder for all the usual reasons. Are there ways for people within the sub 2 and OC community to engage with you? Are you the right receptacle for uh novated houses and wraps and those kind of things? How can we help your business to go grow? What can we bring to you?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. Um, Again, building the internal team right now is where I'm spending a lot of my time and
Mhm.
reassessing that. We have over 40 people. Wholesale in general is a very high churn business. It
Yeah.
has a certain archetype of a human being that's able to be commission driven, but also have the delayed gratification mindset, be okay with a rejection. And so cultivating that is really important. In terms of what the outside world and my friends like you guys could do for me, is allow me to be on awesome podcasts like this and talk to you guys and get to know you more. I think that in my ability to give to you, I will receive naturally without even expecting reciprocity. I've learned that. Practically, yeah, I mean, I before sub two, I was in a mentorship that did novations. I've been in sales mentorships, all the things. Sales is my passion. But in terms of what we do, yeah, I think buying opportunities in multifamily, again, like I am syndicating the 204 unit. We are still raising capital for it. It's a $30 million deal, and we're 90 something percent of the way there. So that'll be the biggest deal of my life. Outside of that, two people in Owners Club that need help raising capital. I've um, developed systems for it, and I have a decent sphere of influence where I'm doing that, and I'm offering that to people that are high level operators. I won't raise capital for anybody who needs the money, but if I believe in the operator and I'm willing to attach my name to their skill set and their deal, I'd love to be a resource in that capacity. In terms of people looking to buy deals, obviously I run a wholesale business. And then in terms of people who are um, looking to cross-pollinate resources, one of the things I like to do is like, well, who do you have in your contact list? Here's my contact list. Let's mishmash and see how we can amplify.
Mm.
It's those little things.
And what markets did you say you buy in?
Yeah, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas. Those are my primary markets where we do student housing and wraps. Um, I do deals also in Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, but those are kind of secondary markets where we just wholesale. We don't buy and hold right now, at least.
Brilliant.
People find you and follow your journey or connect with you.
Yeah, I think the easiest way is on Instagram at House Huncho, HouseHuncho, at House Huncho. And then on my Instagram, I have all like the other links and stuff like that. Some things that like I'd like to share with your guys' audience if they're interested. I host a weekly meetup here in LA every single Tuesday in person. We go really deep. The focus there is not so much socializing, but like making money, learning strategy, applying strategy together. The other thing that I do is every Friday, I host a virtual Bible study. I've been doing that since June of last year. And right now we're going through the book of Acts. We're in chapter 11, but everything's recorded. So if anybody in your audience is looking for a community of real estate investors that pray together and believe that the word of God is moving, then I'd love for that to be something that we can share as well.
Good on you. Well done, you. Very proud of you.
Thank
Very impressed with what you're building. I think what Pace is doing is transforming the real estate landscape, and that only happens because we're all volunteers in that whole process. So well done you for your leadership and what we're learning from you.
Thank
Very
you.
impressed.
I
Yeah,
appreciate
you
it.
are definitely a shining star. When I met Matt, my first reaction was, my gosh, there's this young, really good looking young guy, but he's so sweet, so sweet. Like you are just honestly, like there's an energy about you that really is, you can feel that you are just that type of giving person. And after listening to you today and all the projects that you're working on, and then by the rate, it just kind of brings out to us that yes, I could feel that from you the minute I met you. And, I just can't wait for so many more people to really get to know you. And hopefully, again, start through our podcast, but through other avenues and connect with you and work with you because what you're doing is amazing and what you will be accomplishing in the next 5 years. I'm so excited to see you in 5 years and then to see where you're going to be moving on beyond that.
I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for you guys' support and your love and your feedback. You guys are both inspiring in your own capacity, and I'm really grateful to know you guys and really grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit more about me. I feel like we're a little bit closer now, and I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much.
Thank you.